This is a method that you're going to run into lots and lots of times when you're making cookies. It's a method which tells you to cream, and cream means that you mix together the sugar and the fat in a motion that develops the texture of the cookies and the cake. Cream is not the ingredient cream. Cream is a technique of stirring. You want to watch too the number of bowls that you will need. Sometimes you need 2 bowls, sometimes you need 3 bowls. In this case for cookies we only need 2. So in the large bowl, because that's where everything is going to end up in the end, I'm going to start with a 1/2 cup of soft shortening. Now to measure soft shortening, you just pack it into a measuring cup. Press it down with your spatula. Level it off, and then away it goes into your bowl. Now these are peanut butter cookies, and this is a recipe that's just wonderfully full of protein. Peanut butter and milk powder and whole wheat flour. It could be called a high protein cookie, which is quite unusual to get in cookies. You want to watch peanut butter because for children, you don't want to attempt to give peanut butter to children under the age of 2 or 3. Your doctor will tell you, just in case of food allergies. Now, 99% of the children are not allergic to peanuts, and it is a wonderful, wonderful food to have. Its protein in it is exactly like the protein that's found in milk. So it's such a shame to have to cut it out of your diet, but if you're allergic to it, you are. 1 cup of peanut butter, 1/2 cup of shortening. Now I want 1.5 cups of white sugar. There's 1 cup and a 1/2 cup. Now before we put the egg in, we'll look at the creaming motion. And if you don't happen to have a beater, this is the way you have to cream. By using a wooden spoon, and you push your fat and your sugar up against the side of the bowl, and you work it until it's nice and smooth and creamy, or light and fluffy as the recipe will say. I'm going to add the egg now. 1 cup of wheat germ, 2 teaspoons of vanilla, and 1/3 cup of water. That will do. And I won't be using these again, because when you mix the flour in later, you don't use your beaters. You just mix it with the spoon. So don't be tempted to beat your flour in, because that develops the gluten and you'll have tough, it doesn't matter so much in cookies, but you'll have cake and the texture that doesn't look very good if you use your beaters when you shouldn't use them. The beaters are used strictly as a substitution for the word cream. Cream your fat and your sugar together. Now we'll set that aside till we get the ingredients that are needed for the medium bowl. We want 1.5 cups of whole wheat flour, and 1 cup of skim milk powder, high protein again. Half a teaspoon of salt to bring out the natural flavors. 1 teaspoon of baking powder. And 2 teaspoons of baking soda. Stir it up really well. And now we're going to mix this flour mixture into here, a bit at a time. But doing this procedure, if you were making a cake in particular, well, even with the cookie batter, this is too heavy a dough for your electric mixer, but you shouldn't anyway. Now it's time to put them on the baking sheet. This is what you call a drop cookie. Taking 2 spoons that are just the small teaspoons that you use at the table. You take just a nice little piece and just push it. Now sometimes you can make them a little fancier, and sometimes they'll tell you to roll them. And so get the hands in again, which is something that kids love to do. So you get the same amount of dough as you did in the drop. Roll it around. Now sometimes you can flatten them. If you have a little bit of sugar, a little bit of flour, either one. Sometimes you flatten them like this with a fork, and you've got a nice little design on them. You could put a design on it 2 ways if you wanted to. These are our high protein cookies. In they go. This dough we will just leave. I haven't got time to bake the rest of them tonight, so we'll just package it up and put it in the refrigerator.